Niall Ferguson mocked his home country from the comforts of the US as he called into the programme. The historian and author was eager to criticise the Brexit Secretary and claimed Britain's future lies with tourists coming to be amused by our politicians. He said, "You see, the paradox of Britain is we've got steadily worse at doing things like trade agreements, complex negotiations. Ultimately Brexit happened because a complex negation with the European Union about Britain's special status went horribly wrong for David Cameron, and I think the negotiations of the divorce are also going pretty wrong because David Davis just isn't a match for Michel Barnier. But luckily we are still very good at entertainment and pretty good at most forms of culture, and that is why people will continue to come to London expecting to be entertained and also amused by our politicians." BBC Getty. Niall Ferguson mocked his home country from the comforts of the US as he called into the programme. "I don't think the rest of the world expects greatness from post-Brexit Britain. I think light relief, a comedy. That's the things we've excelled at, rather like popular music." Mr. Ferguson then took aim at leading Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg by skewering him as a wonderfully stereotypical figure that entertains people around the world. He added, "The United Kingdom sold itself as Cool Britannia back in the 1990s, and I think part of the charm of Brexit for the rest of the world is that we're going to market ourselves as Square Britannia." Thursday, December 14, 2017. Theresa May's Tory Brexit rebels. "People don't realise how appealing people like Jacob Rees-Mogg is as a character around the world, because from the vantage point of Americans and indeed Asians and Africans he is a wonderfully stereotypical figure." The historian's demolition of Brexit and British politicians continued as he claimed the UK's struggle to be rid of the clutches of Brussels is consuming the country and absorbing British political culture in a struggle that could see negotiations last 5 years from now. He went on, "Well, I would love to believe what the Brexiteers promised, that by voting to leave the European Union, we'd become global Britain and perhaps part of a new rejuvenated Anglosphere. But I have to say my impression at this point is that rather the opposite is happening, that the divorce process, which by the way may still be going on 5 years from now, is so absorbing British political culture that we have become significantly more parochial since the referendum, more inward-looking." Apart from a brief remark from presenter Kirsty Walk, Mr. Ferguson was allowed to continue his shocking remarks that humoured the UK without challenges from guests Rebecca Walton and Safraz Mansour, the regional director of Europe for the British Council and a journalist respectively. Mr. Ferguson stated, "I visit Britain regularly from the United States. I'm struck every time I come by just how far Brexit is consuming us and causing us to turn inwards rather than outwards, and in that sense the Brexiteers' plan is doing rather wrong." BBC Mr. Ferguson took aim at leading Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg by skewering him. Capped from a brief remark from presenter Kirsty Walk, Mr. Ferguson was uninterrupted. "Part of the problem is I think there was an assumption back in 2016 that something was happening simultaneously in the United States that would create a new Atlantic relationship. That something of course was the populist wave that produced Donald Trump, and there was a brief moment where Trump talked about Brexit and people were excited about Trump, but we are now in late 2017 and it's clear British people are about as negative as people on the European continent. In fact, it is just one of those signs of just how European we are that we hate Donald Trump almost as much as the Germans, the Dutch and the Swedes do." So the problem of Brexit division of a global Britain is that if global Britain doesn't include the United States, if it doesn't include a broader Anglosphere, then what exactly is it? I'm skeptical that there is anything there, frankly.